At the end of the day, someone was paying. One of the newspapers this morning said the price of food products, food items, gently rising around Lagos and outside. Again, because Lagos is the 5th largest economy in Africa and Nigeria's #1 poster boy for GDP. That is what Lagos is all about. So once Lagos is impacted, the rest of the country will have to sneeze very badly. Now, imagine Nigerians. Now, we complain about Lagos, but let's spare some thoughts for Nigerians, millions of Nigerians who are in far-flung areas of this country, who are expecting those tankers that you see on television to get petrol to fuel maternity homes, hospitals, midwives, children in schools, and to do a lot of other things. Now, even small businesses, the artisans in the villages, in the nooks and crannies of Nigeria are suffering because Apapa is in a lockdown. Now, we've got political issue here about who owns Lagos. Now, since 1999, or when we have the current civilian democratic dispensation, you have a different issue on our hands between the ruling party and the state government with these big bags about who does what, who doesn't do what in Lagos. Now, that has to stop one way or the other. But will this problem come to an end from May 29 when you now have All Progressives Congress at the federal and at the Lagos level? Will this problem be resolved? And I'm sure Nigerians, not just Lagosians, will demand a very rapid response very quickly into Lagos as far as this issue is concerned, not just paying the subsidies and what have you, which is the headline story, but in resolving these issues down there. Don't forget, it's not only the petrol tankers that have cost to pay and the problems down there. There are other vehicles that are for other manufacturers, perhaps those who are bringing raw materials from other parts of Nigeria to Apapa port to ship them out of the country. Now, imagine those trailers and those containers can't get into the port. Again, you have those whose containers have arrived and goods have arrived from overseas via the ships, and they've berthed, the customs have collected their duties, the freight forwarders have collected theirs. They can't get those goods out of Apapa port because of what you've seen on television. Now, that's another serious cost that has absolutely led to or tied somewhere at the bottom to the apron of the fuel scarcity, the importers, the government on the other hand, and of course the authorities between Lagos and federal. Now, this brings to question, what do we do with the Ministry of Transportation and everybody that ought to be in the same room to say Apapa gridlock for Lagos State is a very serious socio-economic problem for millions of Nigerians. So this is not a Lagos story.
No, it's not.
This is a Federal Republic of Nigeria story, and that's what you see on television.
That's very true. But you see, a lot of times conversations have always looked at, been that the federal government has tried its best. Do you think that it's time for maybe attention to be shifted from Apapa port, Tinkan Apapa? Yes, it is the largest in West Africa, but should there be a shift, kind of, to the other ports, decongest this ones for a while?
Yes, and that is very, very important and should be done. However, if you move ship, berth, and everything from Lagos to Calabar, to other areas, in Port Harcourt, and what have you, fantastic. The question is, where are the roads, the good roads, to move these goods if you take them to Port Harcourt? So if you have an importer, or someone doing business in Ibadan, in Ondo State, well, if you triangulate it from that southwest to Port Harcourt, it's much longer in terms of number of kilometers than to come to Lagos. So the road down here looks a little better. Now, if you put it there, there's a problem again. So you need to solve not just one problem, decongesting Lagos seaports, move it to other seaports in the country. Very fantastic idea. But you need to fix the roads and the rails very quickly. If you don't fix the rail lines, which are what you call the cargo trains, not just the commercial commuter one, like Amtrak and Eurostar in Europe and the US. You need to fix the cargo ones that can move tomato, cow, pepper, onions, a lot of these things, cassava,
even building materials
and
too.
Building materials and what have you, away very quickly from the hinterlands to the seaports in Port Harcourt, Warri, whatever. Then to move finished goods that we're bringing in also by importers down here, you need to improve the facilities at the seaport. This So this business you're talking about will cost several billions of naira. And you need to put in place facilities to empower MPA, that's the Port Authority, and the Nigeria Customs to be efficient. It doesn't make any sense to send cargoes down there by sea and you can't get it out in 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Everybody's losing money. So
yes, now coming to that, everybody losing money. I know you mentioned it. You know, you bring in stuff, it's berthed, it's at the ports. You can't get it out because there's a traffic gridlock. So you're wondering, you've paid your freight forwarders, you've paid your agents,
customs,
everybody.
You paid MPA.
So what you just want is for your goods to come out. And then it's not coming out at the time. So some people have had their goods trapped in there for as long as 3 months and counting. Who's bearing the cost?
You and I.
So at the end of the day, when those products do come out, most probably it's not personal. It's going to be for you to sell.
Perhaps so you're going to have their shelf life
you're going to now share this.
Has been reduced, for example.
You're going to now share this so that everybody bears the cost along with you.
Sometimes the importer will have to bear the cost almost 100%.
The price of everything.
For example, if they are perishable goods, okay?
Perishable goods are gone.
Now, hold on. But again, if there are industrial parts that you need to fix very quickly to get industries up and running, maybe Ashaka Cement in Boko, Cement, CCNN in Sokoto State or whatever, if you don't get those parts, even if they are power plants, equipment, you can't get them out of the seaports in Lagos because they are trapped in there, because that small section of the road isn't fixed. Now, the point is this: we need to go back to the big picture. Whether we solve the petrol subsidy or not, whatever happens, Lagos has to be refixed. In terms of business and economic issues, imagine the people who live in Apapa every day and they work in Victoria Island, Lekki, Aja axis, or perhaps in Ikeja. How do they sleep and wake up and move in and out on a daily basis? We had a colleague, one of the news editors, complaining this morning. The wife, you just said, took the kids out about 4:30 a.m., spent hours in traffic that the wife had to drive the children back home. Today they've lost school time. He's lost petrol money in the car. The wife is back at home with the kids.
Not to talk about the time and energy to drive there.
They have to be out of the house by 4:30 a.m. They must have woken up the kids about an hour earlier. So this is a human suffering story that Lagos and Nigeria PLC has become with this issue. So whether we pay subsidy or we don't, the Apapa story has to be fixed. Well, and those are my submissions.
Wilson, well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the program. We're going to get the NAGAF president.
No, he's the man who is in there every day.
Yes.
And from the way he drives all the way from Badagry down here this morning, I'm sure he has a better story about how he triangulates that every day. Eugene, his son, whom I don't envy any day, with the rest of his team down there.
Wilson, I have you on lockdown. You can just, be on lockdown. So, watch the conversation I'll be having with Dr. Eugene Wake, which promises to also be another aspect to this whole conversation. Business Morning continues in just a moment. Please stay with us.